Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, we talk about all things homesteading, homemaking, and just our journey to a slower and more simple life. I hope all of you had an absolutely wonderful Christmas. It is such a great time of year, but now of course after Christmas we are getting ready to go into the new year. It's really crazy how fast this year really flew by, and I personally always like to reflect at the end of the year. I really like to look back and see what I accomplished and what I have for goals in the new year. It's kind of my own take on resolutions. I'm not really a resolutions person. I think that we can change anything in our lives that we want to improve on any time of year. So the whole concept of this is what I will do starting on this day is a little bit funny and flawed. But what I like to do instead is really keep track, journaling the things that I'm accomplishing, the things that I have my mind towards accomplishing. And so if you couldn't tell by the title, this is a goals video, my goals for the upcoming year. And obviously they will pertain to me and my life as being a homesteader and a homemaker. But to start this video off, I thought it'd be a really fun idea to actually look back at exactly a year ago. I recorded my goals for 2023, and that was one of the first YouTube videos I posted as I had just freshly started the channel. And so it gives me kind of a unique opportunity to look at my past self and what I hoped to accomplish and see if I did accomplish anything. So first, let's look back together and see what I was hoping to do and see if I did any of it. And then after that, we will jump into my goals and hopes and dreams for 2024. Of course, to start out, even bigger and even better garden, always. So the first thing I mentioned was having a bigger and better garden, which I can say I do think I achieved this year. I was able to make more beds and have more space in the garden area that I had this year. And I even built a really nice fence so that to keep deer out as well as other animals. I really got the chance to utilize more space this year for sure in the garden. And I would say that I probably grew more than I have ever before. It's really crazy to look back at myself. It's kind of funny. I want to not only expand the crops I've been doing already, but I want to add more to the mix. I have not yet done onions or potatoes. So I mentioned that I wanted to add new varieties of things to the garden, and I definitely did. I mentioned specifically potatoes, and I grew a whole bed of potatoes that I'm very proud of. It wasn't enough to last in storage all year anywhere close, but it was about a whole month of not having to buy any potatoes from the store, and I use potatoes a lot in my cooking, a lot. So that's very exciting. I also grew for the first time pumpkins, which that turned out to be quite a big success as well. I'm really happy with that. And it's so hard to keep track. I really should write it down more. I think I need to write it down this year, but I think there was other things that I grew for the first time as well, or if not for the first time, grew really successfully for the first time. I knew I grew a lot of cucumbers this year for me, definitely in comparison. I think I've planted cucumber before, but I don't think they've done very well. I also had cabbage, which I'm not sure if I've done before, but I definitely achieved that specific goal. My second big thing I am gonna do this year is I'm gonna start canning. I said one of the biggest things I wanted to do that year was start canning, and I did. I started my canning journey this past summer. I got myself an electric pressure canner, and it is the first time ever canning at all. It was a great process learning to start canning for the first time and building food storage, a food pantry of items I've canned. I definitely want to learn how to better use a more traditional style canner that you'd put on the stovetop. I know how, but obviously I haven't put that into practice since I bought the electric pressure canner, mostly just for convenience sake since you don't have to watch those. But yeah, definitely check that off my list. But my biggest things is I'm gonna can my tomato products. The second thing I really want to make sure I can up is broth. So I said the two things that I wanted to can the most were tomato products and broth, and I can say I did do both of those things. We're doing really well so far. I've done all the things so far. As far as tomato products go, I really just canned diced tomatoes, and that's okay. I think that's a great start. If you've been following along with me at all, you would know that my tomatoes got munched at by deer at the beginning of the season, so they grew a little more slowly and a little less than I was maybe hoping. But I still got a lot, I'd say even more than the year before without the deer issue. And I was able to can up close to 30 pints of diced tomatoes, which I'm really proud of myself for doing. And as far as broth goes, oh my goodness, I did not even know what I was getting myself into. I canned over 60 things of chicken broth. I got some chicken discard parts, you may call them, and made a bunch of broth. I did it over the course of like 3 days. I was basically nonstop canning, and I made like 60 things, 60 quarts of chicken broth. So I'm gonna be all set with that for the year. I really think that I did a whole year's worth of chicken broth. I also did beef broth as well, just not quite to that scale, not anywhere close. But I think I can say I'm very confident in my ability to make and can broth now. I'd like to buy more in bulk this year. I'd like to start buying meat by bigger quantities. As far as getting a lot of food in bulk, I don't think I can say I did that because I know what I meant and I didn't really achieve that. I was kind of thinking towards the big 5-gallon buckets of, your wheat berries and rice, stuff like that. Have not gotten to that point yet, so I can't check that off yet. But as far as buying more meat at a time, I'm pretty happy with what I have been able to do this year. I still do not have the freezer space to get something like a half of a cow at a time, so I haven't done that. But I have been ordering full briskets and things like that to cut myself into different roasts that I can have, as well as a whole big strip steak chunk that I cut the steaks myself. And I've been ordering a lot more whole chickens and things like that, ordered my own whole turkey. So I've definitely been exploring more cuts of meat as well as doing more of the process myself and getting more at a time. I really want to learn how to hunt this year. So learning how to hunt didn't really happen either. I will say I took my state's course that you need to take, so I did that and passed, and so I'm able to purchase a hunting license now. But unfortunately, and mostly due to very personal circumstances, I have not yet actually gone and practiced this new knowledge that I have. I have yet to use a firearm in real life and have yet to go hunting. It's unfortunate, but sometimes we just don't get to all the things we want to try. Next, I am very excited to say that I am taking a beekeeping course. I took a beekeeping course. I think it was a 8-week program and something like that, 1 day a week for 8 weeks. And it was very cool. I learned a lot. I definitely recommend. I think lots of towns have some kind of beekeeping society or something like that. I would look online at what's around you. If you're interested in bees, I know I follow a lot of channels that talk about it, but I think there's something about learning and seeing some of these things in person that really helps it click. I still think bees are super cool. I still would love to have them someday, but a lot of the equipment and things like that are quite costly, which I'm not in the position to do anything about that at this time. I know there is definitely opportunities and ways to get things on a budget. I know there's even people who love beekeeping so much they help other people interested. I've heard of people getting stuff for free even. But where I am now too, where I'm kind of right in the suburb, and I know there's little kids right next door, and I have a dog, and it's just such a little space. On top of not really having the money for it, it seems not the right time or the right space really to keep a bunch of bees, because it is true that they can be very violent sometimes, not all the time, and usually not when you know how to handle them well and you know what kind of bees you're getting, like they've been bred a certain way or they are a certain breed rather. But there's definitely that chance, and so that's probably not something I'm gonna do while I'm here. But taking the class was great, and I have so much knowledge now from that. And the last thing on my kind of goals for 2023 list that I came up with is always, it's just slowing down and appreciating what I have now. So those are my goals for 2023. Oh, how cliche of me. My last and final goal is slowing down and appreciating things more. I think that is a great goal, and I think I did accomplish it. It's just kind of funny how I say things, and I'm sure I still do now, but it's just funny hearing myself. I really have done a lot this year with that, though. I've established a consistent routine that brings me so much joy now. I get up every morning at 5:30 without fail. Doesn't matter if it's a weekend or a weekday, 5:30, which has changed everything, honestly. It is so peaceful, and the morning is my favorite time of day. Watching the sunrise, it just starts off me feeling so happy. And I won't say I'm equally productive from day to day first thing in the morning. Some days I hop right into my routine by doing my workout and my reading and things like that. Other days I just kind of chill on the couch with my dog for a little bit before I hop into that. But the consistency of waking up at that time every day, it changes the whole day ahead. I feel much more successful and much more motivated and productive. And even on days that I'm not as productive, I don't feel as hard on myself because I still feel like I started the day off on a really good foot. But I have all my routines together. I have such appreciation for where I am and what I have. And I really feel like I'm making the most of every day. And while I have so much that I hope and strive towards, which is what we'll get in just a second for the 2024 goals, I'm still content, the most content I've ever been in my whole life, I'd say. So I'd say we had a pretty successful 2023. It is so funny looking back and seeing myself, and it's really cool that it's been a whole year. But without further ado, let us go on to my 2024 goals. So what I am hoping to achieve this next upcoming year. So I think since I talked about the garden first last time, we'll start with that again. And I think it will be a goal for myself every single year to have a bigger and better garden. But I want to say specifically this year that I want to be a little more strategic with my garden. I really would like to plan out exactly where I want to plant things a little bit better. For example, I love cilantro as an herb, but it bolts so fast, even here where I am, where it's a colder place, it bolts so fast. So I think a good thing to do with that is, instead of putting it in the herb bed maybe, is put it somewhere that has something growing that will give it a little bit more shade. Thinking about, maybe the word is companion planting a little bit more. And not even just that, but really narrowing down what I'm going to plant in the gardens. Since I at this time have a limited space, I really want to utilize it for my goals the best I can, opposed to in other years I might do things more just for fun or because I've never done it before. I think I want to lean more on sustainability and the things I know I'm really going to eat and the things that do best being preserved. So I think that's the way I want to take my garden planning this year. And with that as well, I hope that I can find in the budget to make more beds, but that's not just making the beds, that is also filling the beds. So those are different things that add up. And I also want to make some nice trellises. Things do so much better when they have trellises to grab onto. It aerates the plants better, keeps fungal and diseases off of them and such, and it's easier for harvesting. So I want to make sure I do that this year. I can be kind of lazy with trellising, which is not smart. And I think I would like to plant some more perennial things. Now, even though I don't plan to be here long term, I really am hoping to be able to take the next step. And sooner opposed to later, I guess we'll say, I still want to plant some perennial things. I'm leaning towards maybe a nice strawberry bed, but I need to look into it even more and see what kind of things I might want to put for perennials. Of course, I want to do more canning this next year. I want to try more recipes. I didn't do any jams actually this year, and I think that's because I didn't really get the chance to go berry picking, which I did the year before, go and get berries. So I want to obtain some berries, go berry picking, and make some jams. I think that would be nice. As well as just more canning in general, more canning of the same things, trying new recipes. Definitely on my list is I want to actually become more knowledgeable and get first hand-on experience with firearms, and I'd love to go hunting this year. Even if I myself do not hunt, I'd want to go on a hunt. I really think it is an important skill people should have, and it's just something I'm interested in, so I really hope that I can make the time to do that this year. Oh, one thing that you may not know is that I'm not very good with sourdough. I've made sourdough starter before, and the starter came out really well, and I've made things with my sourdough starter before, but I think it's something to do with my patience perhaps, or that I'm not in a good bread making schedule. But I find that even when my starter is super lively and bubbly, that a lot of things just turn out too dense still. Like they did not, either the yeast died or not enough. I'm not sure, but I'm not very good with sourdough, and I don't have a very good routine of sourdough. So this year I want to try to get better. I'm going to make a fresh starter. I'm going to try to get in that rhythm of making something every day. I think it's because you have to let the dough that you make with the starter sit for overnight and stuff like that. I'm not sure. There's a lot of content creators that make really good sourdough content, and I'm trying to learn. I'm trying to absorb the knowledge, but I'd like to do more with that this year. I'd like to try to switch my family 100% over to raw milk, which you would think, I live in a state where you can buy raw milk in any store, really. There's no legality around that. You can buy raw milk in a grocery store. They're not carried in all the stores though, however, so it's not like you can go to any grocery store. I've found it in more health food stores, but I really want to get us over to 100% raw milk. We are not at that place. We use pasteurized milk all the time, and it's just not the ideal at all. However, it is definitely expensive, which makes things tricky. I think the last time I bought a gallon of raw milk in one of those health food stores, it was like $11 for a gallon or something like that, and it was quite a drive away from me. So I definitely think there's probably better options than that, but I want to really put my feelers out and see what I can find for a reliable source of raw milk for the family, since at this time we cannot keep a dairy animal. Even if I wanted to try to keep a goat on about 1/8 of an acre, it's not allowed here. So I'd really like to try making more things this year. I want to try making soap. Something that I did this year that I didn't talk about, but that I did do, which is kind of cool, is make lotion, tallow lotion, for the first time, and it's fantastic. So I'd love to change up other things and make some of my own soap somehow, and I'd love to make my own yogurt. I've never done that before either. I also would like, in my spare time, to do a lot more sewing. I know how to sew. I've sewn a lot. I make plushie animals. Actually, I've made plushie animals and sold them in craft fairs before, which is really fun, and they're so cute. That's why I love to do it. But I haven't really made much for clothing. I have a dress form to do so in an easy way, and so I'd really like to do some of that this year in my free time. I have lots of projects in my head that I want to work on, but I just never use my spare time to do that for some reason. And lastly, something that may not really pertain to you but does to me and kind of relates is I want to continue to keep working hard on the kinds of content that I'm putting out. I've been trying to make better content. I've been doing this for a year now, so it's crazy. It's been a year. And although to a lot of people this channel would seem like it's growing really slowly, to me it's been amazing. It's been consistently growing since I started, and from what it seems like, it's really people that are interested and want to learn these kinds of things. And so that makes me really happy. I started this because I want to make a difference in the world, really. The way a lot of things are right now is kind of unsettling, kind of upsetting in a lot of ways. And any way that I can contribute to helping the world be a better place by sharing anything I know, sharing my personal experiences, I think that's just a good idea. We need to be what we want to see, after all, in the world, so if I want to see this kind of content, I can also help create it and put it out there. But so I've been trying to get better at, making, recording, editing, putting together, make it more appealing, and I hope that that comes across in some way. So for 2024, I want to expand and get better at my YouTubing as well as my blogging that I have as well. And I do hope you will continue to follow me on that journey. And the last thing I want to say is, of course, I am going to continue on my journey of saving money and just trying to put my sights towards getting an actual piece of land, something that I can really put animals on, grow more gardens, all of that fun stuff. So we'll see how far we get with that mission in this upcoming year. I hope you enjoyed this 2024 goals video. If you did, please consider subscribing so you can join our community of like-minded folk. I hope you have a great rest of 2023, and I will see you in the next year for 2024. Bye-bye!